Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. Okay, so by now, I'm sure most of you have already heard that old Sleepy Joe pardoned his crackhead son. Now, that's not really so much news anymore, so I wasn't really even planning on mentioning it, but I did decide to bring it up because it kind of lines up with the case from last week where the illegal alien got caught with 170 guns.
It's quite a collection.
Now, I said I believe that man should have been tried and deported if he was here illegally, but the gun possession shouldn't really be at issue, and I stand by that. Until he is convicted, he still has all of his rights intact. Otherwise, a cop could ignore all of your constitutional rights just by claiming he thought you might be an illegal.
They all look suspicious.
But the illegal and Hunter Biden both broke the same law, allegedly.
Allegedly.
So, why am I sticking up for the illegal alien but not for the crackhead? Am I just a massive hypocrite?
You hypocrite.
What?
Well, I'd love to tell you straight away, but it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors, so let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by Franklin Armory.
Franklin Armory, those freedom facilitators who brought you twice the pews with their binary firing system, because it's a scientific fact that bad guys with twice as many holes in them are half as dangerous. So in the unfortunate event you should ever need your firearm for defense, remember, it's math. It can't be wrong.
And by Vortex, their new Defender line of red dots features a constant on emitter with no flicker and shake awake, so it is always ready. The Defender CCW is impressively compact for daily carry, the ST is a bit larger, and the XL is an absolute beast with one of the largest windows available on a micro red dot. Alright, so I want to say right up front that all gun laws are unconstitutional infringements rooted in racism and classism. That includes the 1968 Gun Control Act, the 94 Brady Bill, and every other law regarding the possession or transfer of a firearm.
Every single one of them bad, man.
And I don't believe it's morally wrong to lie to the government either. So honestly, I don't think Biden should have been charged or convicted for his crimes. Well, for his gun crimes anyway. We'll probably never fully know what role he played in the Ukraine war. But even though I believed the law he broke was unjust, I publicly gloated about his conviction. Doesn't that make me a hypocrite? Well, I guess that's a matter of opinion, but I took pleasure in seeing a bad guy experience a bad outcome, and honestly, I was hoping he would appeal the law on 2A grounds and we might all benefit. It's not that I suddenly supported the law when it was used against someone I disliked, it's that there was a certain poetry in the son of a famous gun control advocate getting hemmed up with a gun control law.
The irony.
And I'm still angered by the fact that wealthy elites can do as they please without consequence, while us proles get sent to prison for years over an out-of-scale drawing. So am I a hypocrite? Let me know what you think down there below in the doobly-doo. If you live near Richmond, Virginia, you have 2 weeks to crank out as many black pipe shotguns as you can. The Richmond Police Department is hosting a gun turn-in event at the New Life Deliverance Tabernacle on Saturday the 14th. The flyer says they will not pay for inoperable guns, so you can't just fire off a dozen low-quality receivers on your 3D squirter. I don't know how they plan to determine guns aren't functional, though. Maybe they'll just crank off a couple of rounds with each gun that gets turned in?
Here we go. Do it, yes.
But it's probably fair to say they won't be taking stripped lowers. Shame, because that really is the easiest money, but they will give you 200 bones for a shotgun, and it only costs about 20 bucks to make one. For that matter, you could buy up an armload of those $100 Turkish shotguns that have been going around lately and still make money on the deal. The control freaks in Texas are not interpreting this year's election results as indicative of the public roundly rejecting gun control schemes. In fact, they have already filed almost 100 bills aimed at infringing on the right of the people to bear arms in one way or another.
We've got a tar and feathering at noon.
Now, most of these bills will, of course, never make it out of committee, but that's also kind of part of the point. I'm not going to waste my time or yours by telling you to call legislators on all of these bills, and the control freaks know that. It's just too many to track. The control freaks believe quantity has a quality all its own, so they throw up as many bills as they possibly can, hoping one of them sticks.
If you have any poo, fling it now.
It doesn't really matter to them so long as they can inconvenience their enemy as they see things. If they cared about safety, this sort of strategy would be entirely ineffective. But since all they really care about is making it harder for minorities and the poors to get their hands on guns, basically any law is a win for them. Now, for our part, it is frustrating to know there's little we can do at this point in the game, but it's also nice to know we don't really have to do much. We'll keep an eye on these bills, of course, and if any of them grow legs, we'll be sure to let you know. But for the time being, if you want to help, you can call the Texas Speaker of the House at 512-463-1000. Remind him this election was a clear mandate from the people, and control freaks will not be tolerated. I finally found a DOJ press release with a criminal getting more time for Glicky Switchy than Matt Hoover got for an out-of-scale drawing of a machine gun part, but only because this imbecile shot himself in the leg. Because after he shot himself, he fell down in the road and his homie came by and scooped up his heater and then ran it back into his house. How do we know this? Because the Columbia PD runs a system of cameras. Sidetrack, how Orwellian is that?
Bart's twisting facts in an Orwellian fashion.
And they saw what happened, got a warrant, and searched his house. They found several guns, including one that had a go fast switch on it. You may be surprised to hear that this gentleman was in fact a felon. Shocking, I know. But as a felon, Mr. Smith was not allowed to have regular pews, let alone fast pews. So he got sentenced to 63 months in prison, which is still less than Chris Irvin got. Now again, for the slow kids in the back, a convicted felon who isn't allowed to have guns got caught with multiple guns, including an actual machine gun, while displaying gross negligence with a gun, and he got less time than Chris Irvin got for drawing an out-of-scale machine gun part. Now don't get it twisted. I believe everything our boy Smith did should be perfectly legal. I believe he should be allowed to blast a hole in his leg if he so chooses. I believe he should be allowed to possess machine guns. I didn't stutter. I believe felons should be allowed to have machine guns. And before you blow a gasket, Karen,
What?
I want to point out, as is so clearly illustrated in this example, when you let somebody out of prison, they do have access to guns, whether you want them to or not. So don't ask me why I think felons should be allowed to have guns until you explain why you want to let somebody out of prison if you don't think they can be trusted with a gun. Because they're gonna get one. Now, I don't know what this guy's original crimes were, and there really is no proof he was up to anything wrong other than being the kind of dumbass who doesn't use a holster. But if he really was such a bad guy that he can't be trusted with a gun, then he should not have been released from prison. What do you folks think? Comment below. And now, for your moment of Zen.
I just want to remind you guys that the US government used more resources, time, and funds to hunt down and kill an illegal squirrel than any single client on the Epstein client list. Do with that information what you will.
Hey friend, do you like pews and pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you pure American pew at the low price of $3? We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsor, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.